to this lesson. So in today's session we are going to discuss our unit number 3 theory portion of Ie&Ifs, which is based on economic planning and economic planning in India and Niti Aayog. So friends, before beginning this lesson, let's discuss what are the topic we are going to study. First thing, we will see what is the definition of economic planning. The second topic we have is the types of planning. The third is objectives of economic planning, and the fourth is history of economic planning in India. Fifth topic is assessment of 5-year planning performance. Sixth is Niti, that is National Institute for Transforming India, and the seventh is financial resources for economic planning. Okay, so first of all, let's begin with the first unit, that is the definition of economic planning. So friends, let's see how economic planning has been defined. So economic planning is basically is the process of making decision about how to allocate resources in an economy. So right, we have resources. Okay, so how to allocate these resources, this is all about economic planning. So it includes decision about what goods and service to produce, right? You can see that what goods and how much to be produced. Okay, how much to be produced and who to produce them, who will produce all these goods and services. So this economic planning, it can be done by the central government, right? So who can do the economic planning? So the central government do the economic planning, and it can also be done by the group of businesses or a combination of the two. Now let's talk about, hopefully you have understood what is economic planning. Now let's talk about types of planning. So there are many different types of economic planning depending on the goal of the planner. Okay, so depending on the goal, that what is the goal, right? So goal decides the types of economic planning. So let me talk about some type of some common type of planning. Like you can see there is some national planning, there are some regional planning, there are some local planning, right? So national planning means what? So this time, so first of all, let's talk about national planning. So this national planning relates to what? It's done by central government and it covers the entire economy. So regional planning is what? So regional planning is done by the regional government and it covers the specific region. Whereas local planning is a type of planning that is done by the local government and it covers a specific city or a town. So these are different types of planning that we have. Now let's move to the second slide, and now let's talk about the second part of the discussion. So now let's talk about centralized and decentralized planning. So what is the difference between the two? What is the difference between centralized planning and decentralized planning? So the first point that we have is centralized planning is when central government makes all the decision. So this central government, it makes all decision. So all decision is taken by central government. This is called centralized planning. And when decentralized planning is what? So where the decision are made by the varieties of actors. Okay, so varieties of people who make the decision. So who includes businesses? It includes businesses, it includes local government, it includes regional government. So these people are involved in making decision. So please remember, in the centralized planning, the central government is involved, whereas in the decentralized planning, a large number of people are involved. That the name we have talked about, like businesses, like local government, like regional government. So these people are involved in the case of decentralized planning. Further, what we have to see? We have to see temporal standpoints. Let's talk about from the temporal standpoints. What does it say? Let's discuss. So friends, it has been explained here that okay, we have talked about centralized and decentralized planning. The second type of classification that we have is the long term planning versus short term planning. Okay, so from temporal standpoint, there is another classification, that is long term planning versus short term planning. So long term planning is when decisions are made about how to allocate resources over a long period of time. So suppose you are making decision that how you will allocate. Suppose you have a resource, okay, and you are making decision how to allocate this resource over a long term. This is called long term planning. Whereas short term planning happens when the decision about how to allocate resource over a short period of time. Suppose like 1 year. Okay, so you have to make decision how to allocate particular resource over 1 year. So this comes under short term plan. So hopefully you have understood what is the difference between short term and long term plan. Now let's move forward and let's see what is the difference between sectoral versus geographical planning. You can see there is a sector planning can be sectoral, planning can be geographical. So now what does it mean? What does it mean when I say that planning can be sectoral? So please understand, sectoral planning is when decisions are made about how to allocate resource within a specific So sectoral planning is when decisions are made about how to allocate resource within a specific sector of an economy. So suppose we have a specific sector, this is the economy, and we have a specific sector of the economy, right? So in the sectoral planning, decisions are made about how to allocate resource within a specific sector of economy. Suppose we have agriculture. Let's talk about agriculture. You know, agriculture is a specific sector. Let's talk about manufacturing. You know, manufacturing is a specific sector. So whenever you make decision about how to allocate resource within a specific sector of the economy, this comes under the sectoral part. If we talk about geographical economy, so it means what? When decisions are made about how to allocate resource within a specific geographical area. So when I say geographical area, what does it mean? It means a city, it means a state. Okay, so you have now you can understand. So geography means city or state, whereas sector means agriculture, manufacture, etc. Okay, so now let's move forward. India planning process. Now let's talk about India planning process. So the India planning process is a long-term decentralized planning process. In the context of India, let's talk about India planning process. You can see the India planning process written here. So in the context of India planning process, first thing is it is a long-term, okay, long-term planning. The second thing is it is a decentralized planning, right? We have talked about what is decentralized, what is centralized. Okay, we have just discussed. So it is a decentralized planning. Okay, that is implemented at the national level, state level, and local level. So what does national government do? National government set the overall goal for the economy, and the state and local government are responsible for developing plans to achieve those goals. So whatever goal is set by the national government, so this is to be implemented by the central government or the regional level. Okay, so now let's talk about example of regional planning, right? So one example of regional planning is given in your book. So let me elaborate. So friends, see, the city of San Francisco, United States, was the first country to begin regional planning in 1916. Okay, so how does it begin? So see, the city of San Francisco has a regional plan that includes goal for economic development, affordable housing, public transportation. So the plan is implemented by a varieties of actors, including the city government, state government, and private sector. So friends, now let's move to the next slide and let's discuss the rest portion that we have in this particular C. So now in this section we talk about national planning. So you know what is the meaning of national planning? So national planning is a process when the government of a country takes an active role in allocating resource in order to achieve a certain economic and social goal. So you know Soviet Union, right? Soviet Union was the first country to implement national planning. So please remember, the first country to implement national planning was Soviet Union, starting in 1928, and the Indian government adopted the national planning after the independence. So India got independence in 1947. After 1947, India adopted this national planning. So let's talk about what are the objectives of economic growth in India. Sorry, economic planning in India. So economic planning, what are the objectives? The first objective is economic growth. So friends, why economic growth is essential? So see, this is basically increase in the amount of goods and service produced by an economy over the time. So economic growth means what? Economic growth means that amount of goods and services which is produced in the economy, it increase. This is called economic growth. So we are discussing what are the objectives of economic planning in India. The first thing that comes to our mind is related to economic growth, right? So economic planning aims to achieve economic growth by investing in infrastructure, right? How does economic growth will happen? So when you will invest in infrastructure, when you will invest in health, okay, and when you will invest in other areas, like let me talk about some other areas where investment is to be done, like infrastructure, education, healthcare. So for example, Indian government has invested in building roads, right? So Indian government has invested in building roads, railways, right, and education, healthcare. So this has helped the improve the skill of the workforce. The second objective of economic planning is the poverty elevation. So poverty elevation means what? Basically it is a reduction in the poverty in a country. So the poverty elevation program, it's aimed to provide the poor with the access of education, right? So those who are poor, it provides them education, healthcare, and other essential services. So these are some of the important objectives of economic planning in India. The first objective we have talked about is regarding to economic growth. The second is poverty elevation. The third is employment generation. So what is employment generation means? So basically employment generation means you are creating job for the people who are looking for work. So people who are looking for work, you are creating job for them. So employment generation is important for economic growth and poverty elevation. Important in employment generation is very crucial for poverty elevation, right? So when people have job, okay, when people have job, they have money to, so they have job, they have money to spend, okay, and they will spend, right, which helps to boost our economy. So this has better, so they have better standard of living, which helps to reduce poverty. So this is how employment generation helps in our economic growth, right? So friends, these are the objectives of economic planning. Now let's talk about social justice and reducing inequality. You know what is the meaning of social justice? Basically, social justice means fair and equal treatment of people, right? So when we treat our people fair and equal, so this is how, this is all about social justice. So so we treat fair and equal treatment regardless of their caste, religion, culture, gender, social status, irrespective of their caste, all these factors, we treat all the people equal. So this is called social this is called also social justice, right? So friends, reducing inequality is the process of making, why we reduce inequality? So reducing inequality means what? This is a process of making sure that everyone has an equal opportunity to succeed. So economic planning can help. How? See, economic planning can help to achieve social justice and reduce inequality by providing opportunity for everyone. Everyone should have opportunity. There should be economic inequities. There should not be inequality, economic equities. So now the third thing is modernization of economy. So see, how modernization of economy. So what is the meaning of modernization? So this modernization is a process of updating or making something more modern. In the context of economics, modernization refers to the process of updating or making the economy more efficient and productive. So how can we make productive? So this can be done by investing in new technology, infrastructure, education. So friends, let me talk about some example to make it more clear to you. Like suppose government, right? So government has invested in roads, government has invested in railways, government has invested in airports. So this has created job for construction worker, and it has helped to improve transportation, okay, which has made it easier for people to get to work. Now the government has provided subsidies for the farmer, so it has helped to increase agriculture production, which has created job in the agriculture sector. The third is government has implemented tax break for businesses, right? You know tax break. So tax break has been introduced by government. So this has encouraged investment, which has created job in the manufacturing and service sector. Government has built school and colleges. This has improved the quality of education. Government has implemented social welfare program like Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. So basically, economic planning has been a successful tool for achieving employment generation, social justice, and modernization in India. Now let's move to the next slide. So we have studied what are the basic objectives of economic planning in India. So now let's move to the next slide and let's go through the history of economic planning. So friends, first thing is 5-year plan. The first thing we will discuss is regarding this 5-year plan. Basically, these are the plan that outlines the government economic and social goal for a period of 5 years. Okay. So the first 5-year plan was launched in 1951. Please remember, the first 5-year plan was launched in 1951. Since then, there has been 12 5-year plan. There have been 12 5-year plan. So since 1951, there have been 12 5-year plan. The second term that we have is the mid-term review. What is the meaning of mid-term review? Let's understand. See, this is the review of the 5-year plan that is conducted halfway through the plan period. Suppose a plan is from here to here, so halfway through it we conduct a review. This is called mid-term review. So the mid-term review is used to assess the progress of the plan and to make necessary adjustment. The third thing that we have is a plan holiday. What do you mean by plan holiday? Let's discuss. So we are trying to study each and every point with clarity so that our understanding become more and more clear. So friends, what is the meaning of plan holiday? This is the period where the government does not implement a 5-year plan. So there are certain period in between where the government has not implemented any 5-year plan. So that is called plan holiday. Okay, understood? Very good. So basically, so plan holiday have been declared in India during the time of war. Suppose some war is there, or suppose some major crisis is there. So at that time, plan holiday is declared where there was no any plan, right? That's called plan holiday. Now the third point we will discuss is Niti Aayog. You see here Niti Aayog, full form please remember, National Institute for Transforming India. So basically this is an Indian government think tank that was established in 2015 to replace the Planning Commission. So Planning Commission was replaced by Niti Aayog. Okay. So Niti Aayog is responsible for advising the government on economic and social policy. So see, what does it do? This advise our government on two criteria. The first is economic. The first is economic and social policy. So this Niti Aayog advise our government on economic and social policy criteria. This is the working of Niti Aayog. Okay, so now let's talk about the fifth point, that is the planning commission. You see the planning commission has been written here. So basically this was a government agency. Planning commission, what is planning commission? So planning commission was a government agency which is responsible for planning in India from 1950 to 2015. Okay, so this was headed by a deputy chairman and it was composed of number of members who were appointed by the government. Okay, so now we will discuss the 5-year plans that we have. First 5-year plan, second 5-year plan, third 5-year plan. Okay, so now let's continue our discussion. So friends, first thing is deputy chairman. I have talked about deputy chairman, right? So deputy chairman is a senior official who is responsible for day-to-day operation of the planning commission. The second point is NDC. What is NDC? National Development Council. What is this? This is a body that is responsible for approving the plans. So whatever plans were there of the planning commission, approval, they provide the approval. So NDC, who chair NDC? It is chaired by the prime ministers and it is composed of ministers from the central government. Okay, so now let's discuss the first 5-year plan. Then after we will discuss all 5-year plan in detail. So let's begin with the first 5-year plan. What are the things that were included in the first 5-year plan? Let's continue. Let's begin our discussion with the first 5-year plan. So friends, first 5-year plan we are discussing. So this was the first 5-year plan in India. It was launched in 1951, please remember, and ended in 1956. So this is a 5-year plan. The main focus for the plan was agriculture and infrastructure development. Okay, and agriculture, irrigation and infrastructure development. The second 5-year plan we will discuss. So now in the first 5-year plan helped to increase the agriculture production. The basic thing that it increases the agriculture production. Okay, and it helps to improve the transportation. So agriculture is one thing and transportation also get improved. Okay, and besides that, let's talk about it has total outlay. We will discuss all these things. Okay, besides that, the second plan. So in brief we are discussing the main point we are discussing. Although first 5-year plan is itself is chapter in itself, but we are discussing the main points. Okay, so what does it relates to, when it started, when it ended, that is all we are concerned about. So now let's talk about second 5-year plan. So second 5-year plan was focused on industrialization. So it was focused on industrialization. You can see here written industrialization with a focus on heavy industry and capital goods. It means that government invested heavily in building factories and other infrastructure that will help to create job and produce goods. Okay, so third plan, if we talk about the third plan, so it included agriculture growth. So see the key points. Second 5-year plan, industrialization. Third 5-year plan, it included agriculture growth as one of the objective. So it means that government invested in improving agriculture productivity. So please see, third 5-year plan main objective was agriculture growth. So government invested in improving agriculture productivity and infrastructure, but the plan was not successful. Why? Due to the number of factors like war with China. 1962 the war with China broke out, and because of which this plan was unsuccessful. Okay, after that it comes 3 annual plan. After the third plan, the government pursued 3 more successive annual plan. These plans were focused on stabilizing the economy and laying the groundwork for future development. So friends, this is the part 1 lecture of unit number 3. So the part 2 lecture will be available to the paid member. If you are interested to get such type of videos, feel free to WhatsApp me on this number or install our app. Okay, the description in the link of app is provided in the description. Okay, so you can get the description detail regarding the courses available in our app, and for such type of video